What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another match review stream. Sorry we're a bit late today, guys, but yeah, it's a tough one to do today after a damaging defeat yesterday against Wolves at home, 2-1. We got Amir with us today, no Sim. How you doing, Amir? After being here in the watch along yesterday, we had to drag you back.
It's tough. I'm not going to lie. On the drive up, I'm just thinking, I've got to repeat all these things that we went through yesterday. It's going to be an interesting one. But no, we've got a lot to talk about, and it's not all doom and gloom, Ben. We've got to keep remembering that this is only Ange's, first 8 months with us. We're still building. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll get into the issues that we had.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, we're going to go into the match review, player ratings. We're going to do go and see how the internet did react to the game as well. But let's start off with the match review yesterday. I think in terms of the starting lineup, I think it was the lineup that we expected, with Emerson Royale filling in for Porro, Ben Davis coming in for Destiny Udogie. When you saw that lineup, did you think maybe he should have gone a different way?
No, I didn't have that instant reaction. I thought that team was perfectly capable of winning the game, especially with what we have up front there with, a triple threat of Son, Richie and Kulu. For me, that should be enough with Maddison on the pitch as well. Should be enough to get you over the line. It obviously wasn't. The fact that we were missing Porro and Destiny, it's huge to the way we play our game. Those inverted fullbacks, the way we go at teams, what those two guys bring, it is a bit of a downgrade when you're looking at Davies and Royale on that side. But I still think we should have had enough in our tank to get over the line yesterday. And I think it's a multitude of factors that led to the defeat.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a frustrating one with Spurs, because you cast your mind back to that Chelsea defeat 4-1. In those 10 games, we were absolutely unbelievable going into that game. Yeah. And then obviously our whole team gets decimated. And we're losing game after game, and then during that period we're like, just wait till we get our first team back, just wait. We get more or less our first team back for the last game against Brighton. We win the game, not playing too well, but Sonny's just coming back, Bissouma's just coming back, and you're thinking, all right, now next game they're all going to be fully fit, a week behind them, and we're really going to start playing well again. Then out of nowhere, Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie get injured. It's like a never-ending cycle at Spurs. We can't ever seem to get our first choice 11 onto the pitch. But I don't think it should kind of bring out the excuses anymore, because how many times can we use these excuses? Ange had enough time on the training pitch to get them fit and ready for this game, and especially with the tactical way to break down Wolves. And we saw exactly the way Wolves are going to play against us in the last game against Molineux, right? Yep. It was pretty much this carbon copy. Maybe even worse.
I think we were better than on that day.
Yeah, actually. Probably worse this way round. And we had a much worse team out at Molineux. We were winning up until the last minute. They scored 2 goals in stoppage time. We came out of the blocks, I thought, the first 3 minutes, really good yesterday against Wolves. And I'm thinking, all right, Spurs mean business today. But then after 3-4 minutes, it just turned into slow, sloppy play. Every time we went forward, we were just tipping it and tapping it around their box without any kind of incisiveness. And every time Wolves got the ball, every time they nicked the ball off us, it looked like they were going to score. It was like Pedro Neto was running rings around us every time he got the ball. It was just like one ball through the middle of the park every time, cut us open. Why does this keep happening?
I think it's something that Ange needs to look at, really. The fact that, one or two quick, fast-paced balls can cut open our whole midfield and bypass our midfield, and they're straight on the attack. And like you said, when you've got players of the likes of Pedro Neto there, and the things he can do on the ball, it's fantastic. And we didn't have an answer for it. There was no way of stopping it. Every time Wolves attacked us down one of those flanks, they looked a threat and they looked like they could really test us. I'm not too sure, but having a look at the wing backs, that's not the issue, because we didn't do it enough in the final third of the pitch to warrant a win. When we talk about providing for the likes of Richie, I felt like although he didn't have a great game, no service was provided to him. We weren't. And like you said, when we were dilly-dallying around the penalty box, no one was willing to make that decisive pass or decisive shot to try and, really test Wolves. And that, for me, is where we lost the game in our final third, actually, not the defence.
It's like, where has that kind of quick, incisive play gone? There's no one just standing up for the team and being like, you know what, I'm going to put a good cross in the box. I'm going to take a pop shot from 25, 30 yards. They were sitting in their low block. They were really frustrating us. They were really hard to break down yesterday. But there's no one standing up saying, you know what, I'm going to take this on for the team. I'm going to have a crack. I'm going to put a good cross in the box. Our best cross in the box came in the last minute, Kulusevski, when Ben Davies headed it wide. Yeah. That was the only good cross we put in pretty much the whole game.
Pretty much. I can remember Royale putting in a little decent ball. If Richie had maybe gambled, he could have gotten on the end of it. But yeah, like you said, most of the balls in lacked quality. We lacked urgency, not moving the ball quick enough, not surprising any of the Wolves defenders. And you really are, you're looking for your big players. It's these type of games where I'm looking to the likes of Sonny. I'm looking to the likes of Maddison. Kulu, okay, got a goal and he did actually all right. Richie, I'm looking for these players to step up. And none of them did yesterday. And it is a bit of a worry for me, to be honest with you, Ben. We know that there's quality in those players. But for whatever reason, it didn't come to shine yesterday afternoon.
And you're looking at the balance of play in that first half particularly. I mean, we go in 1-0 down, terrible goal to give away, defending all over the place, to be honest. No defending in that corner. The guy is completely free in our box from a corner.
Doesn't make sense.
We've got our whole team pretty much in the box. I think Sonny is the closest man to him. And he's completely free header. What is that defending all about? How can you defend the corner like that?
This is diabolical to me, Ben. That's the word I would use, for a Premier League team to leave a player completely unmarked to just head the ball to exactly where he wanted to put it in the corner is diabolical. It's a worry for me that Ange hasn't addressed this yet. The fact that we leak so many goals. Okay, we're great going forward. Yeah, we know we score goals. And that's a good side of our game. It's not enough. You're not going to win anything with just that.
But that's the thing. We haven't even been great going forward in previous weeks. I think since I take it back to that Chelsea game, since that Chelsea game, we've all been here saying, yeah, Ange ball, yeah, we've been playing good football. Yeah, we can attack. But it hasn't been consistently good since those first 10 games of the season. Since those first 10 games of the season, we've been nowhere near as good.
No, there has been a drop-off. But I do think that drop-off, it's going to sound like an excuse here, but I do think that drop-off has to do with the amount of injury suspensions and AFCON and Asia Cups that you had. That volatility to the first 11 that you had, that stability in the first 10 games evaporated. Then you're suddenly playing different midfielders every week. Skippy, Højbjergs, you never know what that midfield's going to look like. For me, part of the issue that we're having in that fluidity within the midfield is the fact that I don't think Ange knows who his best midfield three are. I don't know if it's Maddison, Sarr, Bissouma, or switch Bissouma with Bentancur, or even a Bissouma, Sarr, Maddison. So I'm not too sure what Ange thinks of that midfield, but for me, that's somewhere where we need to pay attention to. He needs to figure out what his best team is.
In terms of the midfield that you're talking about, I mean, we were at the end of Everton, we were having the same conversation, weren't we?
Yeah.
Ange doesn't know what his best midfield is. It keeps chopping and changing. And then before this game, in the build up to this game, we're like, all right, Bissouma came on against Brighton, he looked good, we're like, we're going to get back to that original midfield that we were so successful with first 10 games of the season. Bissouma, Sarr, Maddison. We got back to that yesterday and it still wasn't any good.
Yeah.
Like Bissouma, I don't know what he was up to yesterday, because for that last goal, he's the one that gives the ball away with a terrible touch.
Yep.
He chases all the way back, and credit to him for chasing back. But then when the ball gets played into the middle of the box, he's nowhere to be seen. That's his man. Like, why is there a man completely free in the middle of the box when Bissouma should be tracking him? What is Bissouma doing in that moment of time?
He's done half the job. He's gone all that way back. He's ran back. He's got himself into a fantastic position, exactly where he wants to be. But he's just let his mind slip, like with the suspensions and the things where the diving. And these are the things that if he wants to be a world-class player, which I think he has it in him to get to that level, he has to cut that out of his game. A world-class player is aware that he's got a man on his shoulder, he sticks to him, he gets that ball first. It's as simple as that. Yeah. And for me, it's something that he's going to have to work on individually, Bissouma, because all the talent in the world is there. We can see it in those first 10 games. Eves was incredible. You know, I think man of the match in most of the games, to be fair. But then he had that drop off. He let the suspension get to him. And since then, we haven't seen the best of him, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's so true. And like, I don't think he hasn't recovered since that red card at Luton. He's got another one since then. And we've never seen anywhere close.
We haven't seen the best of him.
Not close to those levels that we saw. First 10 games of the season, he was literally if not the best defensive mid on current form in the Premier League.
He was almost unplayable.
He was. And now he's a shadow of his former self, a shadow, and we need him to get back to those levels, to get ourselves back on a good run in the Premier League this season. But I take it back to the first half. We were lucky to only be 1-0 down at half-time. Vicario made a number of really good saves in that first half. I thought Vicario was just keeping us in it at times in the first half.
He was. Big Vic, I can think of a few great saves that he made. Fantastic performance by him again. I don't think he was at fault for any of the goals. I can see him being really frustrated after that one.
He should be, because he did not deserve to be on the losing side, Vicario, yesterday.
No.
Bring it into the second half. We start again. We start the half really well. We get that goal.
Well.
We get that goal with Kulusevski. What a goal that was, by the way. Takes it past his man, pokes it into the back of the net from a really nice angle. And then after that, we drop off again. Like, I don't understand why we start these halves really well, looking really good, looking threatening. And then for 40 minutes after it, we're terrible. Like, I don't understand. What can you put that down to?
Lack of game management for me, Ben. We let teams get back into the game, and then they start to dominate, and you see period of that game where Wolves, after we had the period of 15-20 minutes where we were good, it was all Wolves. It's the same in the Brighton game. When we got back into that Brighton game, they were actually on top of us.
Yeah.
For a long period of the game. When we made all our subs, they were on top of us for 20 minutes. So for me, there's something in the way we play, the way we go about our business, that we're not managing the game smart enough. We were saying on the way up here, how nice would it be for Spurs to be, at a 2-goal cushion at the 70th minute, 80th minute, and us just knocking it about casually for fun. Don't have to go gun-ho crazy football. No, you just need to hold on to your lead, finish out the game, and we never even put ourselves in that position. So it's very worrying for me, Ben.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating more than anything for me, because I know that we've got it in us as a team. I know that we got players, especially on the pitch yesterday. Bar the fullbacks, it was our first team.
Yep.
Yesterday, Rishi up top, Sonny on the left, Kulu on the right, the midfield three that was so successful for us for the first 10 games of the season, Van de Ven, Romero, Vicario. Apart from the fullbacks, it was our completely first team, and it's no excuse to look as lethargic and insipid as we did yesterday, and we just could not create. We could not break down Wolves for love nor money. Don't get me wrong, Wolves came with a game plan and implemented it perfectly. Gary O'Neill said after the game, we were perfect with the way that we wanted to implement our game, and I completely agree with him. They were brilliant, and they killed us on the counter-attack every time with Pedro Neto. What a player he is, by the way. Like, if that's any audition for the summer, he passed it with flying colours, didn't he?
Fantastic player, fantastic. If he didn't have these injury woes, you'd have, I think, the whole world after him, basically. Young, talented, technically phenomenal on the ball, and he was too much for our defence yesterday. We just didn't have any answers for it. Is there a question maybe in terms of the lineup? Could we have maybe brought in Dragusin? I don't know.
Dragusin must be looking at the defending over the past few weeks and being like, how am I not getting into this team?
He must be going mental. Yeah, and he was playing every game in Genoa. He was the main man. So maybe that is something we could look into. You could have maybe benched either Davies or Royale and played one of them, pushed him out to the wing.
I was saying in the preview to the game coming into it, why not play a Mickey van der Ven at left back and then bring in Dragusin and Romero in the centre back positions?
You could have done something like that. It might have given us more stability. I don't know. But it's definitely something to look into for the future, because the balance wasn't there in that team yesterday.
And then obviously the second goal comes. We spoke about it. Basuma gives the ball away, goes straight through Pape Matar, and there's no one in the box to get on to cover Pedro Neto's cross. simple ball along the floor, open man in the box. And that wasn't the first time that, they just found an open man in the box. It happened time and time again yesterday. We just got a bit lucky sometimes when they didn't score. But terrible defending. But after the goal happens, there is just no urgency, no desire, no anything to get us back into the game. We couldn't hurt Wolves whatsoever until maybe the last second when Ben Davies has that header. But that was about it. I don't remember any other clear-cut chances that we had. Maybe one from Kulusevski throughout that 90 minutes.
It was all too easy for them. It was all in front of them. They put that low block there. They said, go on, get past us. You can't? Okay, sit there behind and pass away behind the penalty box. No problem. Do what you can over there. You're not threatening us.
Yeah.
And that was, really how it went from the time that they got their second. Very, very frustrating. I was screaming to get past the lines and get those overlaps going from the wing backs, get in behind them, get the ball into the box, try and create something. But like you said, we lacked a threat, we lacked urgency, and the only real chance of note, Kulu had a little pot shot, great save by Saar, but was that Davies' chance? And you would think he's actually pretty good in the air, Davies, but he completely, I think he lost what position he was in relation to the goal, and he absolutely fluffed it.
Yeah, very frustrating. And if we did get that goal at the end, it would have been a snatch and grab point, because we deserved absolutely nothing out of that game yesterday. Wolves were by far the better side, by far creating but the much better chances in the game. In terms of a few maybe positives to take out the game, I would say Mickey van der Ven, once again, I thought he was getting us out of trouble time and time again, as well as what Vicario was. And I think Kulu maybe had a slightly better game than what he had last week. That's the only positives I can take.
I think that's fair. Romero didn't have one of his best games. There's nothing else really in there, is there? Sonny didn't have a good game. Richie, no. I think that's fair. Mickey van der Ven, although you say it's a good thing that he bails us out of trouble time after time again, and he does, he's been phenomenal. Why are we getting in that position that he needs to bail us out every single time? That's what worries me. It's almost like we're reliant on these guys, Mickey and Christian, to sweep up anything that comes in the back. There. So that's a worry for me. It's a worry for me that it's so easy for teams to get in behind us.
Like first 10 games, it wasn't like that though. Like we had Mickey and Romero, we had Destiny and Porro back four. We've had that last game, in the last few games now, our top choice back four. But I don't get why it's so hard. I was speaking, I think it was my uncle after the game, and I was thinking, what has changed from those first 10 games to these last few games in terms of why we're so open, why we're so easy to spring on, and why we're so easy to open up? And I'm thinking about it. Maybe it is the defensive mid, because since Bissouma has dropped off, we haven't had a defensive mid that has been playing well pretty much, or has been of a top quality, because Bissouma's had a drop off. Bentancur in the last recent weeks hasn't been that great. Højbjerg, when he's been playing in those positions, hasn't been great. So maybe it's to do with the midfield.
Could be. It could be that they're lacking that layer of stability that Bissouma brings. If that is the issue, then we are going to want to see a resurgence of Bissouma.
We need it.
That's what we need. That's what we need. If he's going to be that barrier in front of that defense, then that's what he needs to be. And let's get him back to his best. But whatever the problem is, Ange needs to find solutions. He's got now 2 weeks to prepare for Palace, get the boys ready. It's a run into the end of the season where there's so much to fight for. Champions League is all open now, and we have to be up for the fight. Losing games like yesterday is just not going to cut it. And if we want to get into that Champions League, if we're going to play like yesterday, there's no chance we're going to get it.
Yeah.
But if we step up to the levels that we were the first 10 games, then you could say we could cruise to Champions League. Yeah. That's the Jekyll and Hyde that is Tottenham at the moment.
Yeah, and this is Tottenham Hotspur we're talking about. They never make it easy for us, do they? It's going to probably go down to the wire, go down to the last day.
Probably. Last minute, last stoppage minute time. Yes, it'll be something crazy.
And you're looking forward to that Palace game now. It's 2 weeks' time. They've got an opportunity to bring in their new manager. It looks like Glasner's going to come in. It looks like Hodgson has managed his last game for Crystal Palace. That game don't look too easy with a brand new manager bounce and all that. So I don't think that's a gimme game, but I mean, we should obviously get the 3 points.
Would have thought that against Wolves. But yeah, no, I hear you, Ben. You know, it's a home game against a side lower than us in the league. You would expect us to go out there and perform. But like you said, it's looking like a trickier and trickier tie as you look at it. You know, new manager bounce. Will they have some of their big players back? I'm not sure on the fitness of Elise and Eze, but if those guys are in the team, I'm always worried.
Yeah, it's very true. Look, let's finish off this review talking about Ange, the future under Ange, and looking forward a bit, because I think there's been a lot of noise online being like, Ange Ball is terrible, Ange isn't the right fit for us, Ange isn't a good manager, all this kind of stuff. I completely disagree with all of that. I think Ange is the right manager to take us forward. I don't think a few dodgy results is going to change my mind on that. I think I saw enough in those first 10 games to tell us that we are on the right path. We're at the very beginning of what he wants to do. He said it time and time again, you know, there's going to be bumps in the road. We're at the early stages of what he wants to do. We're nowhere near what he wants to do as well in terms of the finished article. And when Ange said there's going to be bumps in the road, the fan base would be like, all right, cool. There's going to be bumps in the road. We can accept that in the first season. As long as we're building, as long as we're going in the right direction. And then as soon as the bumps in the road comes, everyone starts, you know, chastising and being like, Ange is a terrible manager. Like, come on, guys. We need to just take a break here. And we need to realize that we actually, if you look at the whole thing objectively, we are on the right path now. We've got a good team. We do. We just need a good squad. We don't have a good squad. That's the reality of it. We've been hurt a lot by injuries that we've had this season. I think we're on the right road, and I still believe we're on the right road.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there, Ben. We are on the right road and we're on the right track. And in terms of what Ange has done, I'll say it again, it's miraculous. You know, the turnaround that he's had, losing one of your world's best strikers in Harry Kane and putting us in the position that we're fighting for Champions League. We're up there, we're battling, we're playing some good football on occasions. You know, it was more on occasions at the start of the season. It's been a bit less recently, but we've spoken about those mitigating factors. So in all, the direction that the club is going under Ange is a very positive one, and we can see what he's trying to do. I think where people get a bit mistaken, Ben, and, you know, throwing all your toys out of the pram and saying, Ange out, and that's ridiculous. That's nonsensical, and there's no point in even entertaining those kind of views. But I'm willing to hear people critique some of the things that Ange is doing and some of the decisions that he's making. So, for instance, if someone wants to critique his substitutions yesterday against Wolves, critique. See what you could have done better. See how you could have maybe adjusted. You know, for me, there were some things that you could have done there. You know, so fine. Go in on Ange, criticize, critique, and see where we can improve. But don't come out with nonsensical type of arguments and he's not the right man for us. And, you know, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous because the transformation that he's performing currently at Tottenham is nothing but miraculous from where we were.
Before the season started, everyone would have been accepting a top 6 finish. Let's say Europa League football would have been 100%. Considered a good season for us. From where we came from last season,
100%,
playing terrible football week in, 100%. Week out, finishing 8th in the league. You know, everyone was falling asleep every time they went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium watching football.
No unity within the team.
Nothing.
Everyone's just in it for themselves. No connection between the fans and the club. We had nothing this time last season. Nothing.
Exactly. So I think that when you're looking at objectively what direction we're going in, no matter, fine, we're having a few dodgy results. And you know what? We've had a loss here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but it was the first loss at Tottenham for a while. I think, what is it, since that West Ham game, since that Villa game, around that period? Was that the last time we lost there?
I think Villa.
So I think, like,
apart from City in the cup.
I'm talking about in the league. But I think, like, people just need to, like, relax a little bit and just realise where we're at. We're not a Man City. We're not a Liverpool. No. We're not supposed to be fighting at the top of the league right now. And we're in a dogfight for top 4. And I think to get top 4 this season for where we were at last season would be a brilliant season.
It'd be an incredible season. I'll bite your hand right now. If you guaranteed me that 4th position, we get back in the Champions League, that would be a fantastic season. And, then we can really build on it. You're looking at that window. We've always said Ange needs maybe 2-3 windows. So that window there for me, that summer window, that's going to be key for us and how we're going to perform next season. Obviously, like you said, our squad is not quite there yet. There's a few missing pieces to that jigsaw, and that needs to be solved during that transfer window in the summer.
Exactly. And people are talking like Andrew's been here for 5 years and he's been failing every year. This is his first season at Tottenham.
Guys, relax.
And there was so much of a mess to sort out in the summer. And I think like where we're at right now, I think it's more than we expected at the beginning of the season. So I think you've got to be happy with it. As much as it is frustrating, the way we played yesterday, 100%. But there's going to be, like Ange keeps saying, there's going to be bumps in the road, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Exactly. And guys, I'd want to reiterate, guys, relax. You got to look at management is a very complex process. It's not something, you can't just come in one day and everything changes and, things are all rosy. Sir Alex Ferguson was on the verge of being sacked for United. Klopp's first few seasons weren't that great. It took City, when they got their money, who did they get their money under? Mark Hughes, was it? And then it took them years to start actually winning things. And it took them, 15 odd years to win the Champions League. So things take time, and we're in that building process. You've got to have faith in Ange. You've got to have faith in the team. We're getting there. And yesterday was a bump in the road for me. If we lose against Palace, then I'll hear all the screaming and shouting and we can talk. But for now, it's just a blip in the road.
And to put it in perspective as well, when you look at it, half a season under in Pep Guardiola's first season for Man City, first half of the season in Klopp's first season for Liverpool, and first half of the season for Mikel Arteta's first season for Arsenal. And in his first half of the season for Tottenham, had more points than all those three clubs. So does that not tell you everything about this is a building process, and we just need to, I hate to say it because, it's been memed across loads of times, but trust the process.
In a sense, yeah. In a sense, it's not just about trusting in the process. It's about having that unity that Ange has brought to the club. For me, that's something that is so key and vital. That song, it's not, we play the way we want to. And that's what it's about. That's what Ange has got us back to for years. It's been 4 or 5 years since, the Pete Pochettino years, and we were playing great football. So for me, keep that unity, build that togetherness. Let's not go crazy out of one little blip in the road. Let's keep that unity that Ange is building between the fans, the players, the club, everyone, and we build on it. When that window comes in the summer, that for me, you're going to hear me being very vocal during that time frame, because I do think we're 2-3 players away, top players away from completing that jigsaw. So we've got to push for that, and we see how we go.
All right, well, that is our match review and a few reasons why to be cheerful and positive on a Sunday afternoon.
Come on, guys.
We've got a couple of super chats to get through, both from the Joricle. So let's get into these.
Big up, Jory.
Big up to Jory. He says, the boys weren't ready for Brentford, Everton, Brighton, and again against Wolves. That's on Ange. He needs to innovate and bring some new ideas. Big up. And then he also says, for the record, I'm still big time Ange in. And look, it's a fair point. It's a complete fair point. You can critique Ange. You can say anything you want about Ange. And yeah, the last 4 performances haven't been good enough. It's 100% spot on. But I would still say this is all a learning process, and this is still a learning curve, and it's still building blocks.
100%.
That's what I would say to that.
100%. No, and I agree with both of you guys there. Jory's spot on. We weren't prepared for the games that we played, and part of it for me, Ben, we'll get into that, I'm sure, but we telegraph games a bit for me. Teams know how we're going to line up. They know how our formation's going to be, and they can then adapt that whole week in training. They can prepare for that, and that's exactly what Wolves did, and they just they got the better of us.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's get on to our player ratings. Going to start off with Big Vic. Amir gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, to be honest, especially in the first half. Kept us in it time and time again. There was one save, wasn't there? It was actually given offside by the end of it, but it was an unbelievable save from point blank range. And I just feel like without Vicario yesterday, we could have been more. Yeah, it could have been a lot more, to be honest. And he kept us in it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that. You know, he had a good performance. Probably one of our best performers on the day. So made some great saves. My only thing that I was a little bit disappointed with maybe his distribution. Could have been a little bit quicker. I felt like, but that was the slowness of it was around the whole team. It wasn't just him. But I do think that sometimes, you know, long distribution sometimes needs to be a little bit better from Vic, and if he can add that to his game would be fantastic. That's the only thing I marked him down on, really.
Yeah, and look, I said it in the preview, but I just don't think he deserved to be on the losing side yesterday, Vicario. That's how well I thought he played.
Yeah, he did.
Let's move on to Emerson Royale. Amir gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. I was actually so frustrated with Emerson throughout the game. I thought his distribution was absolutely shocking. Didn't give us anywhere close to what kind of Pedro Porro can give us, but that's kind of expected. You know what you're losing when Porro goes out of the team, and you know what you're gaining when Emerson comes in the team, and it's usually defensive solidity. And I think actually, for the most part, he actually made some really important interceptions and tackles, goal-saving interceptions and tackles throughout the game, but he just didn't offer enough to the team in terms of the way we like to play our football. He gave the ball away time and time again, which was just so frustrating, and I just don't think Emerson is suited to an Ange Ball system. I really don't.
No, he's not suited to inverting, is he? It's not his forte. I can remember him playing a terrible ball going out for a throw-in as well. I was going absolutely mental. Not one of his best days. I'm someone who I back Royale. I like the guy's energy. What he lacks in quality, I think he brings in effort and energy. But having said all that, you know, you can bring all the effort and energy in the world if, you know, the quality is not quite there, and it wasn't yesterday. It wasn't one of his standout performances at all.
Moving on to Kuti Romero, 6s all round from us for Kuti. I thought it was okay. It wasn't one of his greatest displays, but wasn't, you know, terrible by any stretch of the imagination. I thought defensively he did okay. But what I was actually really happy with Romero in that second half, he was trying to take it upon himself to lead that charge and lead the team forward. You know, he was sitting on the halfway line at times, trying to drag the team forward. And he was trying to like up the tempo a little bit, but it was just unfortunate that the players around him weren't really on that wavelength.
No, they weren't on his wavelength. I think he played all right. Romero wasn't one of his standout performances again. Second half, he was a little bit better, tried to move the ball a bit quicker. I just think that if you're looking to be a leader in that defense, you know, I want to look at him absolutely screaming at the other players, saying teams will not score against us. You know, when's the last time we had a clean sheet? So for me, for these defenders, if they want to get into the realms of an 8 or a 9, you need to be coming home with a clean sheet for me. Yeah, you know, so conceding 2 goals, that's why I gave Romero a 6 there.
Mickey van der Ven up next. Amir gave him a 7. I gave him an 8. Another one that comes out of it looking good, to be honest, not the very few anyway, because I thought him and Big Vic probably the only two that really come out of it with any sort of praise. And again, another one that saved us time and time again with his recovery runs. He just gets us out of so many problematic situations time and time again with his pace and his ability to kind of track back where others can't. And he did that again yesterday. So another good performance from Mickey van der Ven.
Yeah, it was a very decent performance by Mickey. I feel like we're a bit too reliant on him. You know, we know that his pace is just unbelievable, so he can get to balls that other players just simply wouldn't even think of getting to, and he gets us out of so much trouble. And the fact that he's so calm on the ball as well, it really does help the team. It's been nothing but class since he's arrived at the lane. Long may it continue. I think the kid's only about 22, 23, and he plays, as if he's been in the game for 15 years.
Absolutely.
So, fantastic.
Yeah. And I was just looking at that while you were talking, by the way. The last time we did keep a clean sheet in the Premier League was that Nottingham Forest game in December.
Oh, wow.
15th of December is the last time we kept a clean sheet in the Premier League.
Oh, wow.
We did keep one after that in the Cup against Burnley.
That wasn't a good performance, though.
That wasn't a good performance either, no. But that is the last time we have kept a clean sheet. But let's move on to Ben Davies. 6s all round for Ben. Look, you know what you're going to get with Ben Davies. Hard-working performance. I don't think he provided too much quality in terms of on the ball, but I think he put in another hard-working display. Standard 6 out of 10 Ben Davies that you're pretty much going to get every time with him, to be honest. But it all comes down to that miss right at the end. You expect him to put that away. That was a gilt-edged chance. You've got to be putting those away.
This is the difference. This is the difference maker. If Ben puts that away, he gets an 8, doesn't he?
Yeah, probably.
So unfortunately he didn't. Very, very frustrating. Last minute of the game, great opportunity for him, and yeah, he absolutely fluffs it. But yeah, in terms of his performance overall, I think it was average, nothing special, but didn't make any, catastrophic mistakes. He always brings that bit of experience.
Yeah, steady Eddie, our Ben Davies. And the problem is that when you have Davies and Emerson there and you lose both what Destiny and Porro give us, they give us so much, especially Destiny defensively, the way he charges forward like a steam train, Destiny a doggy. Ben Davies, you know what I mean? Ben Davies just cannot do that.
It's not the same physical abilities there. You're talking about a 20-year-old who's built like a tank to someone who's come into the twilight of his career. It's two different things going on there. I really want you doggy back for Palace.
Yeah, I think he will be, and I think it's a good thing for us that this Chelsea game got postponed because we need these 2 weeks on the training pitch, and we need to be able to recover those two players as well.
We do.
Yves Bissouma up next. Amir gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I was really disappointed with Bissouma yesterday. I was really excited to see him in the starting lineup. I thought he came on with a bit of a point to prove in the last game against Brighton with a number of interceptions, looked tenacious in the middle of the park there. But he was anything but that, to be honest, against Wolves yesterday. He just didn't do anything. I mean, he was poor defensively. It all comes down to that moment, isn't it, where they scored their second goal. He gives the ball away so sloppily. They charge up the pitch. Be fair to him, he did get back into position, but not the right position because he's not tracking the man. And the man, your man, João Pedro, whatever his name is, João Gomez, he's completely free in the middle of the box. Those 2 goals that he scored yesterday, 2 of the easiest goals that you could score. I could have scored those 2 goals. You know what I mean? The first one from the corner, he's completely free. No one in acres of space to him. And in the second one, Bissouma should be tracking him. I don't understand. Bissouma runs all the way back and decides to stand in where no other Wolves players are. It's ridiculous, to be honest.
You know that clown music? It's kind of like that because he's sprinted all the way back. You've made an 80-yard sprint to be in the right position, but you haven't looked over your shoulder or even, the periphery, your eye vision. You can just about make out that he's there. Could have stopped him. Didn't do that. It's a big learning lesson for Bissouma. And for me, the reason I gave him a 5 and didn't rate him down a bit lower was I think the start of the game, he actually started all right. I think he drifted out of the game. His first 20 minutes, I thought he was actually doing all right. Looked like one of our better players.
But what is it with Bissouma? Like, has that just, of those red cards and just knocked the stuffing out of his confidence? Because he's just, like I said in the preview, he's a shadow of the player that we saw in those first 10 games. Where has our Bissouma gone?
Maybe left in Mali. Where was the African nations? Ivory Coast. Maybe left in the Ivory Coast. I don't know. But I want to see the Bissouma for the first 10 games. That's for sure. I want to see him back. Bring back our Bis.
Next up, Pape Matar Sarr. Amir gave him a 6. I gave him a 5. On the back of a really top display against Brighton last week, where I gave him my man in the match. I think I don't know, it was a strange one for Sarr because you know what you're going to get with him. He's running around, he's putting a lot of energy into the game, but I just felt like he lacked a lot of quality. And again, that goal that we did concede kind of went straight through him with that ball straight down the middle of the park, which landed to Pedro Neto. And I just don't think Sarr offered us anything close to maybe what he offered us in that Brighton game. And look, he's a young player. Maybe you do expect these kind of performances from time to time, but let's just hope it's not a regular occurrence.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with a lot of that. I think, he wasn't in the game as much as he was against Brighton. He kind of drifted in and out a little bit against Wolves. He covers a lot of ground, Sar. You know what you're going to get. The issue is he's still young. He's still learning his trade. He can misplace a pass or two. I think he did yesterday as well. But I think in general, his performances have been outstanding this season, and I'm sure he'll bounce back, and he'll be looking at himself and thinking, how can I improve, and how can I, make the difference to the team? And I think he will. He will improve. For sure.
Next up, James Maddison, 5s all round for Madders. Probably, I would say, maybe his worst display since he's been back from injury, which was really disappointing because we needed someone to really take the great game by the scruff of the neck, and he's the one with the qualities to do that. And he was getting on the ball a fair bit, and I felt like a lot of the time he was choosing the wrong option of the passes. A lot of the time the passes weren't of high quality. Maybe it was due to the Wolves, the way they sat in that low block, and it was very difficult for someone like Maddison to pick that hole, but he just didn't offer us what we needed in that moment in time in the game. And maybe sometimes with James Maddison, why not take a pop shot from 25, 30 yards? We know he's got it in his locker. It's just very frustrating because we're just passing it around the box, and he was like very central to that, obviously. And sometimes it's just worth just taking a shot, and he just didn't do that.
No. You expect a lot, when you know the quality of a player, and we know what James Maddison offers in terms of unlocking a team, beautiful one touch ball, great finish. We're expecting that week in, week out, and when he's not doing those things, it really does stand out. And I do think yesterday was one of his worst performances, not just since he's been back, but since he's come to Spurs. He really didn't get on the ball enough for me and do enough with it. A lot of sideways and not forward thinking enough. And like you said, if you're on that edge of the box, sometimes just have a pot shot. You never know. The keeper could make a save. It bounces out. Second ball or from the corner. You can get an opportunity. It's definitely something that Maddison will need to look at, and I'm sure he can add it to his game because he's such a phenomenal player, and the talent that he has on the ball, there's no one else in the team that can do the things that he does. So I'm sure that this is just a little blip for him, and he'll be back to his best against Palace once he's really fully fit and match fit.
Next up, Decky, 7s all round for Dejan Kulusevski. It was a better performance than maybe what we saw against Brighton last week. Albeit against Brighton, he was kind of growing into the game, wasn't he? And then he got taken off. Yeah, and he got taken off as soon as he made that great pass that forced that goal. But with yesterday, I felt like if anything was going to happen, it was going to come through Kulusevski. He played that brilliant ball right at the end for Ben Davis. He obviously got the goal with a really high quality goal, really good, great footwork, and low into, I think it went through the keeper's legs or just by the side of the keeper. Really good goal. But still, apart from that, he did fail to threaten, really. I mean, I've seen a lot better performances from Kulusevski whilst he's been here. But when you're looking at that game in isolation, he was probably our best attacker on the day.
Oh, yeah, by far. By far our best attacker. Managed to claw our way back into the game with that wonderful solo goal, which he really did fantastically for. I still don't think he's back to his best. That those first 6 months that he had with us when he came in the January window, I think he was phenomenal, and he was cutting players up and putting the ball in the corner every time. He seemed to be finding that corner, the left corner. I want to see him get back to that, and I think that hopefully this goal can give him that boost going into the next few games to get him back on track. Kulu, that's a step in the right direction yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not great by any stretch of the imagination. I kind of bumped him up a lot because if he puts that carbon copy performance in and doesn't score that goal, he's probably a 5 or something. But because it's such a great goal, I did bump him up a couple. And look, he did look... When I say he looked our most threatening out of our front three, it's not really much to go by because the other two didn't look threatening at all.
Yeah, which is really crazy when you think about who they are and, what they've been doing recently for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, let's get on to Sonny next. 5s all round. I thought the way he started the game, he was looking to get beyond his fullback and attack the space, and he kind of failed to do that, to be honest. I felt like he was pretty much anonymous for the majority of the game. I'm not sure what it was about. Maybe it was because of the shape that Wolves were in, but he just failed to impact the game by any sort of stretch of the imagination, and it was a poor display from Sonny.
It was a poor performance, and the only thing that is kind of echoing in my mind is this something to do with things that he's brought back from Korea? We know they had a bust up. We know he was very disappointed with the way they got knocked out. Is something affecting him mentally? Because it doesn't seem to be physical, right? He seems to be fully fit. Not quite sure what the drop off there was yesterday with Sonny. But I do think that, again, it's another blip for a world-class player. It's not his greatest performance, but he'll be back to his best for the run-in, and I can assure you he's going to be full of goals and assists for this run-in.
And he'll be very disappointed with that performance. He'll be very disappointed.
He'll be fuming
with the team's performance and himself. So I agree. I'm sure Sonny will be fit and firing, ready for the next game. And these 2 weeks on the training pitch will do everyone the world of good. In terms of the starting 11, the last player will be Richarlison, who's fours all round. And I was really disappointed with Richarlison. First half, particularly, like the ball just kept coming to him, kept bouncing off him. His control was terrible. His passing was terrible. I don't remember a thing that he did right, to be honest, apart from, running around and putting hard work in. Apart from that, everything he did when the ball came to him was out of a really low quality. Yeah,
and that sums it up. His performance was of low quality yesterday. That he couldn't make the ball stick. He wasn't creating any chances for himself. He wasn't really playing players into the game or anything like that. The one caveat I'll have to all of that, and the low ratings that we've given him, there was no service. As a striker, you want good balls into the box. That Ben Davies chance, you want those kind of chances delivered. He didn't get any of that. So on a day where we create more, I think Richie probably does get on the score sheet, but we didn't create anything for him. So he had nothing to feed off.
Let's go on to the substitutes. We're going to rate the three that came on with around 25 minutes to go. First one is Rodrigo Bentancur. Amir gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. Didn't really offer us anything when he came on the pitch, unfortunately. It carries on a theme with Bentancur of poor displays. Maybe he is just getting back to full fitness because he, did have a lot of injuries there. But I thought he was poor in the tackle. Didn't offer us that silky Bentancur on the ball moves that we know he likes to produce. So unfortunately, he has to have a low mark.
No, I hear that. I just gave him a 5, average. Didn't do anything phenomenal. Didn't do anything terrible. He needs to get back to his best as well. I think he's another one that he's not fully fit for me. Was it Brighton that he looked completely off the pace in that
Everton as well.
Everton as well, yeah. So, hopefully these 2 weeks, rest up Benty and, get yourself back on the mend. Get yourself back to your best, because when he's on his best, one of our best players. Phenomenal.
Brennan Johnson, Amir gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. He came on to, really try and force the issue, to put Wolves under pressure. And he just didn't do that, to be honest. I think every time he got it, he either checked back or when he tried to run at his man, he lost the ball pretty much every time. He's just not offering much, to be honest, in a Spurs shirt, unfortunately. And I still back him. I still think he potentially has the qualities that he can fulfill the needs here, but it's going to be a work in progress. Maybe we won't see the best of him till next season, but from what he's offering right now, for the money that we paid for him, it's not good enough.
I hear that, Ben. I hear that. But I also think that he's a very young player, and he's been played a lot more than Ange would have liked, given all the injuries that we've had. So I don't know if we've paid that amount of money for talent that may progress in the future, or for the ready-made player. Because he doesn't look ready-made, does he? It looks like it's going to be one that we need to develop. But when you're looking at it, Johnson does offer something different to us than Kulu. He comes on, he brings that phenomenal pace that he's got. So if he can learn to hold on to the ball a little bit better and improve a few aspects of his game, I think he can be a real danger going forward. I think we have to be a bit patient with someone like Brennan. Arm around the shoulder, See how he goes. Don't put too much pressure on this kid, because a 40 million, it's not his fault that he was that price tag.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. But, in that time of the game, 25 minutes to go, we need a goal. There's no space in behind whatsoever because Wolves are clogging up all the areas. Kulusevski moves inside into the midfield, and Brennan's on that right. He just didn't get across into the box. He didn't have a shot. He didn't do anything in terms of trying to force the issue. And that's my problem. Like, when you're bringing someone like that on, you need to force the issue. And he just didn't do that.
No, I hear that. He needs to do a lot more for me. And, he got the winning goal against Brighton. But if that goal hadn't have gone in, we would have all been slating his performance, because
I was getting my words ready for him after that game.
I remember. So was I, Ben, because it was very sloppy. But again, it could be, young players, nerves. It is daunting playing in front of 60,000 week in, week out, and having all that pressure on you. So let's be a little bit patient with Brennan.
Yeah, I agree with that. And last but not least, in terms of the outfield players, is Timo Werner. Amir gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. Came on up front, then moved out to the left. Ange didn't really know what to do with him, it seemed. And he offered next to nothing, to be honest. Not really much to say on Timo Werner, because I just felt like Brennan, he just didn't offer anything.
No, it didn't do too much. I don't think it helps. What position are you going in to play? That's something you need to look at. Was he going on to play striker, or was he going on to play on the left wing? Because I still don't understand. I still can't figure it out right now, to be honest with you. So, yeah, just average 5 for Timo for me.
And last but not least, we're going to finish on Ange Postecoglou. 5s all round for Ange. Unfortunately, you got to put it down on Ange, because these performances are coming a regular occurrence, and I think we've got out of jail a few times in the last few weeks. Obviously, Everton, we drew the game because we conceded in the last minute, but I don't think we really deserved to be winning that game. Last week against Brighton, we won 2-1, where I don't think we really deserved to win the game. And again, yesterday, probably the worst of the lot, but we deserved absolutely nothing out of it, and we got what we deserved. And I think you've got to put that down on the manager. He needs to find solutions of ways to get us to improve and get us back to those levels which he showed in the first 10 games of the season. He did try and force the issue in the mid stage of the second half, and all the changes that he did make just failed to impact the game whatsoever. So I think Ange has got a lot of work to do at this football club. I don't think anyone was under the illusion that there wasn't a lot of work to do. I think maybe those first 10 games kind of clouded our vision of where Spurs should be at this moment in time. So I think what he's saying about bumps in the road, it's a work in progress, we're nowhere near where he wants us to be, I think it's all true. And maybe those first 10 games did cloud our vision and our judgment. But like I said before in the match review, I do think he's the right man to take us forward. I love Ange. I think that we're on a right path with him. But right now we're in a very sticky patch, and he needs to figure out solutions to get us out of it and to get us playing well again, because we haven't been playing well for a while now. And we've been getting out of jail, like I said. Game management, I thought, was fairly poor from him yesterday. The changes that he did make, like I said, didn't impact it. The starting lineup, you can't really have too many arguments with the starting lineup because of Porro and Udogie being out injured, but maybe he could have played Van de Ven left back and bring in a Dragoos in at centre back, but would have changed the course of the result? I don't even think so.
Maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe no, we'll never know. But when it comes down to Ange, the reason I've marked him down to a 5, a couple of reasons. One, I think he telegraphs the game a little bit. When you tell your opponents exactly how you're going to line up, exactly how you're going to play, and there's no even chance of there being a slight tactical change or a slight, instructional differentiation in there to do something a little bit different. That's my issue. I think Wolves knew exactly how we were going to line up. They had their tactic, and for me, Gary O'Neill won the tactical masterclass, all day long. And the same thing happened against Villa for me, and it's becoming a little bit of a trend with Ange and becoming a little bit of a worry for me. So like you said, Ben, it's about him finding the solutions to that. He's done amazingly with his set of values and his style of football in the Japanese league and in the Scottish league. We all know that the Prem is a huge step up from those leagues. And I think what we're going to see here over the next year or so under Ange is his development as a manager and his growth as a manager. Because I'm sure he will find the solutions and he will figure out ways to get us over the line. But he's going to have to start learning on the fly, because we've got a super important run-in coming in. We're battling for that 4th position. And if he can pull that off for us, get us into that Champions League, then he has the whole of the next year with a nice window under his belt to really show the Spurs fans what he can do for our club. And my belief is that if we give this manager the right tools, that he will find a way to bring glory back to the lane. And I think he's the right man for the job. He's the right man to find the right solutions for us and get us over the line. And I really, really hope that, all the fans out there listening to this continue with that, continue backing him, and, really help push the team on until the end of the season.
And to put it in perspective as well, when we're talking about how poor we've been over the past couple of weeks and stuff like that, the amount of injuries that we've had and everything that's been going against us. In the last 10 games in the Premier League, only 2 teams have picked up more points than us, and that is Liverpool and Man City. We've picked up more points than Arsenal, Villa, Man U, everyone else we've picked up more points than.
It's a blip. It's a blip in the road. It really is a blip in the road. And I know it hurts. It really hurts. I was here last night for the match. It really hurts. It really is one that we should be getting points out of. But like I said before, if we then go and lose to Palace, then I think there's other issues at fault, and we really need to start looking at ourselves.
Yeah, but we can't lose that game.
No, we can't. But for me, this is a blip in the road. Ange needs to figure out the solutions. He's got, the players at his disposal that he chose, right? He wanted Dragusin in. As much as we complain about Johnson, that's an Ange player, right? He brought him in. So he's got a few of the players that he wants. Let's see what we can do until the end of the season. Ange will find the solutions for me. And I'm going to go as far as saying we will nick that Champions League spot in the end, Ben. I do believe that. I'm
still confident of it as well.
No, I still do believe that. And wow, can you imagine European outing under Ange? That is something I want to see, Ben. That is really something I want to see.
Big up. So that is our player ratings for the defeat yesterday against Wolves. We've got another super chat from the Jorical once again.
Come on, Jory.
Big up to Jory. He says,
Jory.
I back Ange 100%, but the fact is that the project, squad and many players are regressing. Ange needs to sort this ASAP.
He does.
To be sure, I still love Ange. And I agree. I agree with everything that you're saying, Jory. But I just don't think it's a time to, throw our toys out the pram. You can criticize all you want, 100%. But I think, like you're saying here, I think the whole club and the whole fan base needs to be in unity behind this man, Ange Postecoglou.
100%. As much as you can complain about the other things around the club and the whole Levy in, Levy out, it's all irrelevant right now. We're on a mission to get Tottenham back into Europe. If Ange can do that in his first season while building, while playing fantastic football, guys, got to be happy with that.
Yeah, and we got to expect next season to be better than that. So if we can finish 4th this season and then add some quality in the summer, especially players that are suited to what Ange want to do, particularly in the wings and the attacking departments, then I think we're on to a really good thing for next season, 100%.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I fully agree with that. And, for anyone doubting Ange, just look at the success he's had in the past, where he's been. It takes time. You don't just come into a club and within 6 months, everything is rosy. It doesn't work like that. Takes time.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what we were saying before about the start of Klopp at Liverpool, the start of Pep at Man City, the start of Arteta at Arsenal. These things are processes, these things are building blocks, and these things need time. It's not just going to happen overnight, as much as maybe we thought it did after the first 10 games of the season. Suddenly we're top of the league, unbeaten after 10 games. You know what I mean? That was never going to be sustainable, especially madness. With the injuries that we did have.
That was madness.
We got another super chat here from Just a Girl Who Loves Spurs. Thank you so much for the super chat. I hope you're well. But let's get into the last segment of the show, which is seeing how the internet did react to the game yesterday. And the first one is from the Belgian Hotspur Sharky, and says, today highlighted quite nicely the deficiencies in our squad and setup. Lack of 1v1 specialists to break down an organised defence. Kulu got his goal, but he's always so poor when tasked to break down a defence. And 2 backup fullbacks that mirror Udogie and Porro's profile. And I actually think that is absolutely 100% bang on the money. I've been saying it for a number of months now that we need those specialist wingers, those one-on-one demons that can attack from the wide areas and get quick crosses in the box. We just don't have that at the moment. Even Sonny isn't really completely of that kind of mold. As much as we all love Sonny and he's obviously a world-class player, we do need those kind of Pedro Netos, those Nico Williams, those kind of players to come into the squad and 100% implement what Ange wants to do.
Yeah. You need wingers that as soon as they're on the ball, you don't know whether he's going left or right. As soon as you have the defender second guessing which way he's going with his feet, it creates absolute havoc and confusion. So yeah, you're looking at the likes of Williams, Neto, Kvicha from Napoli. These are the types of guys that will come and will impact the team straight away. And that for me is where we need to build in the summer. I want to see those building blocks put in place. And hey ho, it's going to cost a few bob.
Yeah.
It will cost a few bob. But this is what we've lacked, in the past. And it's why we don't actually ever move up a level in terms of where we are. And we kind of, we bounce up and down, and we stay grounded in our kind of fight for Champions League. But for me, and for Ange, I think, from the way he's spoken, Champions League position is not enough for Tottenham Hotspur. It's not. It's not a cup. It's not a trophy. It's a building block in itself, and it's getting back to where we want to be. But it's not a success at the end of the day. For us to be a successful team, we need to go back to winning trophies, and I think that's what Ange Postecoglou's come here to do. And if you give him those types of players, have no doubt that he will bring success to this club.
Agreed. And another spot-on fact is the backup fullbacks that just, they also don't suit exactly what Ben Davis is not anywhere close to Destiny Udogie.
No.
He can't offer us anything close to what he does offer us. I think Destiny and Porro are actually perfect fullbacks for our system. But once they get injured, we're out on our legs a little bit because Emerson ain't they
were bought
fullback.
for different systems. It was different systems.
Exactly.
Davies been hanging around for way too long, and Royale was bought for a completely different system. So
BLTHFC says the main problem is the goals we're leaking. We make life 10 times hard for ourselves going 1-0 down and then facing 11 men in their own box. If we don't concede from their corner, we concede from our own. So preventable. It's so preventable and so frustrating. When was our last clean sheet? So we spoke about the last clean sheet, which was Nottingham Forest on the 15th of December, which is crazy. We haven't kept a clean sheet in this calendar year yet. In the Premier League.
It's poor. It really is poor. Considering we've got 2 fantastic centre-backs and we do have Porro and Udogie there, you would expect this defence to do better. And maybe this is a symptom of the Ange style of football that you concede, but you always outscore. But I just don't think that that's feasible to outscore your team for a whole calendar year. I just don't think it's doable. So,
but I don't think that was the case. Like I always take it back to those first 10 games. Like we were beating teams quite comfortably. Our defense looked really solid. We weren't conceding too many chances either. Like Vicario, yeah, fine. He made a couple of good saves in that period, but it's not like he was coming under as much pressure as he is now. It feels like just one ball down the middle of the park splits us open every single time at the moment. And I just don't know. Like we need to sort this out ASAP because we can't keep going on conceding goals from set pieces when we have attacking set pieces like yesterday, being able to be susceptible to the counter-attack as much as we are. Like it's not good enough.
No, it's not good enough, and Ange needs to find the solutions to where we are going wrong as a team and get back to the way we were in those first 10 games. I think what you were saying earlier could be spot on, though. You know, if Biss at his best, if he is the difference maker, and he's a good enough player to be that difference maker, I'm really going to be looking at him over the next few games to see if he can be that difference maker, and if him being in that six just solidifies that defense a little bit more, and we can see some better defensive performances.
If he can't, and if he goes from now to the end of the season playing this way, as he's been post Luton and the red cards, then what would your opinion be? Would we need another six to come in the summer?
What if he keeps his drop off? His drop off is the level as it is today. Be bringing Bergvall into the team, mate.
Yeah, but again, he's not even a six. Like, he's an 8, and he's 18 years of age.
At this stage, you know, honestly, it'll be a big worry for me if he keeps this low level of form. But for me, the quality is there, so it's just about unlocking it. You know, we don't know. Sometimes, you know, this is another thing that we tend to forget about players. They're also humans. You know, they have their own things going on in their own lives, personal things. Could be 1 in a million things that has put Biss off in, you know, the last couple of months.
Just look at Richarlison.
Yeah, just look at Richarlison, and then a difference maker after the surgery and a bit of mental health and psychology. So for me, Biss needs to do whatever it is that will help him get back on an even keel and get him back to those performances in the first 10 games. Do it, Biss. If you need to see a psychologist, Richie's got a good number of one. So, you know.
Lily White Lab tweeted this out yesterday, saying completely and utterly confused about what Ange's plan for this game was. Result is 100% on him. Yeah. I get you wanted to invert the fullbacks to overload numbers in midfield and to also free up isolated wingers to attack their fullbacks. But one, we had the overload in midfield already with a 3v2, bringing Emerson and Davis infield cramped the space as opposing wingers followed, and therefore we struggled in there more and we should have more than we should have. 2, that would have been fine if the overload meant quality superiority with the likes of Porro and Udogie in there. To have Emerson and Davies playing as almost number 10s, our 2 least technical and dynamic players, makes no sense. Leave them out wide in the build-up and let our players dominate theirs. And 3, even that the overload in midfield is freeing up our wingers to get at their fullbacks. It doesn't make sense to me because he doesn't shine at beating their fullbacks anyway. So to go through all of an effort to get them 1v1 makes absolutely no sense to me. Seems like we're just being stubborn for the sake of it. We've looked terrible for weeks now, and he needs to adapt in some way to get getting the edge in games. And then that was quote tweeted by Travis Levinson that says, "This is spot on. It is becoming very evident that Ange isn't necessarily adapting to the players at his disposal, and the wingers are a prime example of that. A huge part of our system is to open passing lanes and create 1v1s for them, yet they don't thrive in these situations." And look, I think that is spot on, to be honest, because we know, they know, he knows, everyone knows that Emerson Royale and Ben Davis, particularly Emerson Royale, ain't good enough to do the role that they were playing in yesterday. Mm-hmm. Ben Davis, you know, I think he can fill in as a centre-back. I don't think his position is left-back anymore. It's particularly an inverting left-back. Emerson as well, like, in a defensive system, fine, you can put him at right back, but not in this attacking, free-flowing, inverting system for Emerson Royale. And I feel like potentially if he would have just kept to a standard back four without inverting these 2 players, we wouldn't have been so open at the back.
I actually think that's spot on, Ben. You know, sometimes you play to your formation and your tactics, you go by what you have at your disposal, not just what you have in your mind and your kind of way of playing football. You know, if you don't have players that can play a certain system, then you have to look at making some adaptations to the system. And I do think if we played a flat back 4 yesterday, you would have maybe seen a bit more stability in there. And I tend to agree with the guy that says that, I don't know who it was out of the commenters that said that this one's on Ange. For me, this one is on Ange.
Yeah, that was from Lily White Lab. And look, I think we're all feeling a bit similar, and I think you're spot on in what you're saying, to be honest. Apollo tweeted out saying, "Such a loser mentality and reactionary take. Calm down, we move." And this is in reaction to a tweet that says, "This is who we are. This is the real Tottenham. Pochettino worked miracles and changed our lives, but let's pile him with abuse because he took a job when he was jobless." And then obviously the Apollo, which I spoke about before, has put a picture in there of the last 10 matches and Spurs sitting third in the form table, only 3 points less than Man City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
So do you think that this is the club that we are, what we're showing? This is just who we are, who we've always been?
No. I think that's reactionary in its sense. This isn't always who we've been, and that's nonsense. We're a side that has won European trophies, that has won FA Cups, that has done doubles. I want to remind people of the history. This is a club that wins things, and I think that's part of the reason that Ange has taken the job. He hasn't taken the job to say, "Oh, I'm coming here for a paycheck." I don't think that's what interests Ange, to be honest with you. I think he's about
the glory.
Yeah, he's about the glory. So I think he's come here to win trophies, and I think he's just figuring out how he can do that and what steps need to be taken in the process. And it's just about having a bit of patience, Spurs fans. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not all, we're in the gutter and we're getting relegated. Without Harry Kane, we're getting relegated. It's far from that, right, guys? We're in a decent position. We've got a fantastic manager. We're building a squad, and Ange is understanding the capabilities of his players very, very well. There will be no excuses after this window to say that Ange doesn't have the players that he wants, because he would have had 2 windows by then.
Agreed. Invert the Wing said yesterday, "Anytime Emerson Royale gets the ball near the final third and is tasked with crossing it, I am just sure it will go out of bounds or hit the first man. Seriously, a man less in attack. He's dreadful for the system." And it's hard to disagree after seeing what he performed out yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, because you're a man that always kind of defends him.
I want to defend him. I want to, and I love the guy. I love the fact that he spent so much money to help, some machine that helps your body recover quicker. I love all that about Emerson, and I love his attitude and his personality. But there are aspects in his attacking play that are just not good enough for what we're doing.
And we're playing an attacking system.
Exactly.
So does he fit our club?
He doesn't. He doesn't. In terms of his personality, fantastic. In terms of the football that we're playing currently under Ange, he doesn't fit the system, guys. You'd be better off there with, I hate to say it, a youth player, to come in for backup, that at least you're building up. He's not right for the system.
Like, you can have all the personality in the world, you can have all the great mentality in the world, if you're not, suited. Because I don't think he's a bad footballer, but any stretch of the imagination. I think he is a good defender.
He is.
But the system that we're playing is just not suited to him.
Not suited to him.
Charlie Eccleshare says, full time, 2-1. That had been coming. Wrote on the topic after the Everton game, Spurs have had a few home wins that could have gone either way. This one doesn't go their way, and they really didn't deserve much from it. I think we've kind of said that pretty much the whole show, to be honest. But that result had been coming, hadn't it?
It has. It has. We let it slip at Everton. We got lucky with Brighton. And eventually your luck runs out. You can't rely on luck, especially in the Prem. We didn't get the rub of the green. And Wolves just, they really came with their game plan, and they got exactly what they deserved. And honestly, Gary O'Neill needs to get a lot of praise, because I think since he's taken over there, he's done a fantastic job. And it's official now. Wolves are our bogey club. It's official. 5 times we've played them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They've beaten us 3 of those. Crazy.
It's mad, isn't it?
Crazy.
Mad. And this is what I was saying in the preview as well. Like, every time we play Wolves, it's a tough game. Home, away, no matter who the managers are, it's always a tough game. And yesterday was no different. This next one is from Bori saying, it was written in Korean, so sorry if this translation isn't absolutely spot on, but it says, "Oh my, I enjoyed a lot. Hichana, why are you like that?" And I think Hichana is Hwang Hee-chan, and this is just the moment, if you see it on screen there, Hwang Hee-chan just pulling Coutinho Romero behind his back so the ref couldn't see it, and kind of pulls him to the ground, and nothing was given, obviously, just a throw on to Spurs.
Oh, yeah, there you go. He's just tugged him. Yeah. Romero's gone absolutely mental.
The next one, again, is from Korean saying, when Hee-chan fell, he came right away and hugged her. So Hwang Hee-chan fell, and then Sonny and Hwang Hee-chan had a nice little embrace.
Little embrace there, yeah.
Always nice to see. Another one is from a Korean fan called Ham Tottenham, and I can't translate this one, but this is Matt Doherty and Heung-min Son having a nice little embrace after the game as well.
Oh, look at them. Best buds, eh?
I don't think
who doesn't like Son?
That's what I'm saying. Is there anyone that has ever played for Spurs that isn't like best mates with Sonny?
I think he's best mates with everyone, isn't
Literally. This next one is Hwang Hee-chan and Heung-min Son in the dugout after the game, taking selfies with each other, sitting and chatting with each other. They were there till the early hours of the morning, apparently, just sitting and talking to each other. Do you reckon they were talking about the game, or were they talking about the sacking of Jurgen Klinsmann from the South Korean manager's post? Who knows?
Yeah,
but
it's probably Korean gossip, I reckon, is going down right there. I'm sure.
But that is the situation. Did you show the pictures? So there you go. Sonny and Hwang Hee-chan just chatting all the way through the night there yesterday at Spurs. And bit of a similar one for next one. Hwang Hee-chan has been treating our ground like it's his own house. If you go to the next one, you can see this is from the Tottenham Hotspur. This is from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last year. And then they've recreated it this year. Just Sonny sitting up on the thing, and then Hwang Hee-chan like a little school kid.
That's hilarious.
With his legs crossed, talking to Sonny.
Decent player.
He is a decent player. I thought he played well yesterday.
Yeah, he did well.
He was trying a bit of shithousery yesterday, though. He was like on the ground trying to get the ref's attention, holding his head. The ref's having none of it, and then suddenly he got up and they just sprinted at 1,000,000 miles per hour.
Mate, he must have some cojones on him to pull Romero's shirt, to pull Romero down like that. I wouldn't go anywhere near Christian Romero. Yeah. So he's obviously not a frightened fella. He's Chang.
HLTCO saying James Maddison walking out at Spurs with Samuel, a 6-year-old lad with cerebral palsy who recently walked a mile for charity. It's absolutely beautiful
top
content.
Man, James. Top man.
And he is a top man. You saw as well in the open training session, I don't know if you saw it, but him going to embrace all the younger fans and giving his time to the younger generation, which is beautiful to see.
Beautiful to see, and long may it continue. It's part of the culture at Spurs, the community vibe. It's really important to me, and I love seeing that kind of stuff. So hats off to James Maddison. Long may it continue.
Son Love says, Sonny, please, we are in the middle of a game. This is Sonny having a huddle with 8 Nori there. I mean, this guy just loves everyone.
Oh, Sonny.
This was, again, from a South Korean fan saying, when Son comes out, the shouting is overwhelmingly loud. And it definitely was yesterday. You see every person's name being read out on the team sheet. And then when Son's name gets called out, literally the whole stadium goes into a massive roar. But you know what was crazy yesterday at the game? The amount of South Koreans at the game yesterday was absolutely astonishing. I came out after the game on Park Lane Road, and pretty much it was only South Koreans that you could see.
Really?
It was actually mad. I've never seen anything, because obviously it was a big South Korean derby yesterday. Hwang Hee-chan against Heung-min Son.
Yeah.
Apparently there was about over 5,000 Koreans there.
Wow, unbelievable.
Son Love saying, bro, collecting men like Pokemon. I don't know what that's all about with the ref and Sonny. What's he giving him there? Is he giving him a Pokemon?
I don't know. Maybe it's whistle. Maybe it's his whistle or something.
He puts it in his pocket as well. I don't know what is going on there. Spurs resident is saying, I hope Ange learns a valuable lesson from today's game. And that's live score saying Son's 18 goals and assists this season have been worth 16 points to Spurs, with only Salah's goal involvements being worth more for a side in the top flight this term, which is 18. That's what you call a clutch player, isn't it?
Yeah. World class. He comes up with the goods, just when you need them, like against Brighton with that fantastic, inch perfect ball. If it's not a goal, it's an assist. You know what Sonny brings? What a captain, what a leader, what a player. I really hope that Spurs value what he brings, and we'll try and keep him here for the
years to come.
For sure.
Red Roll says, feel really bad for him. He's been through a lot lately, and today's game only adds more burden. And that's Son looking a bit distraught, walking off the pitch yesterday, and rightly so, because not only was the team performance not great, unfortunately he wasn't great as well.
Yeah, his personal performance, he wasn't at his best yesterday, and we know Sonny takes these kind of losses very hard. I just hope that he's rearing himself up, really training hard over the next couple of weeks and looking to absolutely put Palace to bed. Was it? Oh no, it was when he came on and scored the hat-trick. Was that Leicester? It was Leicester, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't Palace. But yeah, he'll be looking to do that, that kind of performance.
He'll come back stronger, Sonny.
Yeah,
we know that.
He will.
Jacko Katz says, the worrying part of everything is that Ange doesn't seem bothered by the chances we concede and the goals we concede. How can you say that we didn't concede much against Wolves when they could have scored about 3 or 4 goals? Does he even care about the defensive structure? Look, there's also a case to say that there's one thing you say to the press and there's one thing that you do and say to your team behind closed doors. So do you think there's an element of that? No, there's not.
No.
So you don't think he cares about the defensive structure?
No, I think of course he cares.
Oh, so you're saying there is an element?
Yeah. I think of course he's not. I think sometimes again you say things to the press and that behind closed doors he'll be up. You think Ange will be okay with letting Gomez just have a free header? Do you think he'll be okay with Biss running all the way back but not, having his hand on the player, being ready to pounce? He's not going to be happy about any of those things. The fact that he likes to play attacking football doesn't mean that he can just, let the defence be leaky and let it be the way it is. He's going to have to find solutions within the systems that he plays to solidify that defence. Will it naturally build more solidity once Porro Udogi's back with Biss there covering? Maybe. Let's see. But to suddenly go in on Ange and say, he doesn't give 2 hoots about the defence, it's not correct for me.
Next up, again, another embrace with Sonny and Hwang Hee-chan taking a selfie after the game. Lovely to see them coming together after the best bros after what they had to go through with Klinsmann and the Asia Cup.
What is it with Klinsmann and management? He can't manage, can he?
He's not a manager, man.
He's not a manager, but how do you get the positions again and again and again? Where does he turn up? America,
I don't know. I don't think he's going to get another one after this, unfortunately. As much as, I loved him as a player for Spurs.
He can't manage.
He's not a manager.
He can't manage, no.
THFC report, this is Sonny after the game, just looking absolutely distraught with the, result, performance, personal performance, everything. Everything was wrong yesterday.
Yeah. But this is what top players, this is what you're made of. It will show against Palace where Sonny is. I'm going to be keeping a key eye on Sonny's performance against Palace because I want to see him personally bounce back.
He will.
And he will.
We know he will.
I'm sure of it.
Craig Pankhurst says, we have to be completely honest and say the gap in quality between us and the top 3 is as big as us and the bottom 3. Wow. I don't know about that. You think that's true? I mean, it's easy to say that after a performance and a result like yesterday. I don't agree with that.
No.
It's not as big as how can it be as big as the bottom 3 to the top 3?
It's just a bit of an extreme statement, but I kind of understand where he's coming from with that.
I agree that maybe there's a bigger gap to us in the top 3 than maybe what people would have thought, after the first 10 games of the season. But to say Man City and Liverpool are as better us than we are better than Sheffield United and Burnley, I think that's a stretch too far.
No, that is a stretch, but I understand where his frustration's coming from because he's seeing that gap there is between us, City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, and he's saying, you know, how do we make that up? He's almost saying it's an impossible task. We're looking back down the other way instead of looking up. And I understand that. But what I would say to that, have a bit of patience, see how we go in the window, see how Ange develops his squad. And let's talk at this point next season and see where we're at.
This is another one from a South Korean fan saying legal beating of the referee. This was Mickey van der Ven just completely smacking the ball at the ref. And I actually thought the ref was going to let that go for a second because South Korea, Wolves were actually on a mad counter-attack.
Yeah, it was a great ricochet for them.
But the ref did pull the blade back. He had to.
He has to.
But you know how these things work at Tottenham sometimes.
Oh, mate.
You can just see it. Like, only Spurs, that wouldn't have been pulled back. Lily White Lab, yeah, we've been through that one. This is from No Context Tottenham. Let's see what this is. Ben Davis's header in the last minute. Like, how can you just get it so wrong?
I don't, you know, as a striker, Ben, you know, when I see those kind of things, I go absolutely mental. I go mental because I just think all you had to do in that situation is put it on target. You put that on target, most likely it's going in the back of the net.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 times for sure. This one says Brennan Johnson as an impact player. And that's exactly how I was feeling yesterday. It's just like no threat whatsoever. Just put it down.
I think it's a bit harsh. I don't know. You know, I like the kid. I like Brennan. I think he's got the right attitude.
I like him as well, but like he's not having the impact. That's the reality.
I hear that. He's not having the impact that we want. You're right. But I do think we need to just be a little bit patient with him. And I think there are goals and assists in his game. He's shown that. He just needs to... For me, it's almost as if every time he gets the ball, he's kind of rushing things a little bit too much. And it's like maybe a lack of concentration when the ball's not sticking.
To me, it looks like a lack of confidence.
Yeah. Could play into it as well.
Rafi Ben David shows this... maybe you can translate this one for us because it's in Hebrew. Ani logo gamuz. Do you know what that means?
Wait. I can't actually see from here. Where am I looking at? Oh. Anila João Gomez. Okay. Yeah, he's having a go at he's just having a go at João Gomez there. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what, yeah.
And then you can see what the fans' reaction was to him. Next up is another one of Sonny and Hwang, a bit of an embrace in the game. Cody Mack says that Davis header sums up today perfectly. Utterly turgid performance. We don't need to say more about that, do we? We really don't. Extra Inch says poor team selection, poor use of the bench, lacking in adaptability. A very sad one to watch play out.
Agree with all of that, really.
Yeah. And this one says Davis and Emerson and starting fullbacks in 2024. And that's just a meme of Klopp saying, I'm starting to run out of energy. I'm running out of energy.
Bless him.
But yeah, that is all we have time for today. That is all we have. But I hope you guys enjoyed that show out today. And maybe enjoy is the wrong word, but I hope you're in it here with us because it was a tough one to take.
It's therapy time.
At We Are Tottenham TV. We brought it back because we haven't had therapy in a long while. But thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you all tomorrow for some more Spurs content. Thank you, Amir, for stepping in for Sim today.
No worries.
And we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.